Hi, it's Nancy welcoming you to Garden Scroll.
Wonderful, wonderful. We got rain. Today is May the 15th, which would have been my brother's birthday. And yesterday on Mother's Day, we actually got rain again. This makes 3 inches for our spring rains. We ended up with a total of 2 inches previously, and now we've got just right at an inch, and I think the next couple of days is supposed to be dry, and then we're supposed to get some more, so that'll be great. And today I actually found the time, well, last night and this morning, to listen to some of the other garden YouTube channels, like Laura from Garden Answer and Jean E. I've enjoyed her garden and her antique finds. But I find that there is so much to do in the garden that I rarely have time to look at other people's posts on their YouTube channels, because I'm trying to get my garden taken care of and also to get my own posts ready and on. So, but I do enjoy several of them, and when I get a chance I do that. But today I have got to get busy and get some other things done in the garden. As I walked around out here just now, I saw this. Something has uprooted this little plant, and this is a coneflower, so it's definitely going to be put back in the ground. And I don't know if this might be a neighbor's cat or if it might be a raccoon. Again, I hope we don't have, I know they're cute and all, but I got tired of taking raccoons out of the garden and putting them just out in the wild again. So I hope we do not have trouble with those. And there's another reason I hope we don't have trouble with either of those things, and I'll show you that in just a minute. And things are looking so ratty in the garden now. Practically every bloom that's bloomed so far this spring needs to be clipped off. I see I have a little Cafophia bloom this morning. And I put my little purple salvia here. I hope it does well, and I get to keep it for many years and get other starts off of it. And this is my reason for hoping that there are not predators out here, because that little redbud, the cardinal family, is starting another little nest here, and I hope they're able to do well this year. They had such terrible luck last year, and I don't know if it's the same couple, but it very well could be. But they like this little spot, and I hope it works for them this year. I still have flowers to get in, plants to get put in my pots. As hard as I worked to get it done before Susie got here, my longtime friend, and we did have a wonderful day. We went to Horse Creek Nursery, we went to Janie's nursery, we ate out together, and it was just like you wanted the day to last so much longer. But it was a great time that we had. And of course, these are the little plants that I ordered, and I need to get those in the ground also. I don't always order plants, but this year I did. It seems like I do always have new plants in the garden. I would love the day to come when everything is pretty much established and there'll be not so much to do in the garden as far as keeping everything watered and taken care of all the time. Hopefully we can leave it a few days, and it being established will just do great. This little snowball bush, I asked my husband to trim it, and mostly just on this side over here where it wouldn't be over the back of the chair, and on the keeping this in the shade because it needed some sunlight. but actually he started on this side, so it's kind of lopsided right now, but I think it'll grow back and be fine. I'm not sure if I want to go ahead and trim that top off and get it all down the same size, or if I want to just leave it. It would hopefully give us a little bit of shade over here on some of these plants. I think I do mostly have sun plants here now though, because we've had our tree gone for a couple of or more years, and I've kind of got, I used to have shade plants a lot around here because our maple tree gave us plenty of shade, but now I've had to kind of change that up a little bit. And of course there always will be changes in the garden. It's nature, and you know, nothing stays the same except God, and God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. My little coleus window clippings are just doing great. Most of them, there's probably some that are not, but I just love it that so many of them are, and this cooler weather and the rain has just done wonders for it all. But I'm having trouble with my impatiens. I don't know why. These look the best of the ones I've got over here, but I don't know why I always seem to have to redo some of my impatiens, and these, all three of these pots definitely need to be redone. There's nothing there that's going to live. Maybe that one on the side. And I'm really not sure what causes this. I'm blaming it on the snails, but we'll see if that's actually what the problem is or not. This little one could possibly make it if it would just be fine from now on, but we'll have to see if that will be the case. And I know I've got to replace some of these and figure out what to do differently, because I know if I just replace and do the same thing, it's going to happen again. Not what I want. And this little pot right here is probably worst of all. So that all needs to be redone, and that is why I did go ahead and purchase some more impatiens, which I love the impatiens. When they get going good, they are just absolute beauties, and they do just keep going and getting bigger and trailing over more and just being such a beautiful plant. I hope I get to see that happen. This little pot right here doesn't look all that great either. And then this one is doing, actually this one is doing pretty well for right now. I hope it continues on to do well. And my strawberry pot is doing well, pretty well. There's some, this one doesn't look real healthy. And then there's, I don't know that this one looks so healthy either. But some of them do. You can tell these look great. And the ones here in the top look great. But there's one here that's just all but dead. But it does have a little piece that's hanging on, so that's great. But I did purchase some more of this color, so that I do want this one to be all that one color when it blooms, if that's possible to get it going like that. When I was shopping for flowers, I saw another strawberry pot that I want. It's the tall upright one like this one is, but it does have the lip. Like this one just has a hole, and I have to put, you can tell I have a little garden staple here that's kind of helping to hold this in. But this little strawberry pot has the lip. This one has a big lip actually, but it's also the little squatty one, which is pretty, it really is. And I do like it. I'm very glad I was able to get it. But at the same time, I like the taller one when I put plants like impatiens in there, because they have that much more room to trail and grow and just show off. And I may have already told you, but when I was going, bringing my plants from the place where I had stored them for the winter in our little spare room, that's actually a junk room because I have everything in there. But when I was doing that, I also went through my seeds. I have so many seeds that I saved from years past, and they do last quite a while. I know they're probably more viable if they're last year's seed, but I keep the seeds because you just never know. And I found several seeds that I wanted to try to get back in the garden for this year, and I have 2 paper sacks full that I need to go through and put some. I won't put all of that in the garden. There's not room for that, but I hope to get a few of each of those different things in the garden. And I was able to give my friend Susie some of the seeds that hopefully she will enjoy in her garden. That's another thing I need to do today, if possible, is get some of that lined out where I can send my daughter some and my great granddaughter, because Sophia asked for some of those seeds too. It's usually my seed box, and this year I have not planted anything in it, and I have planted very little in the garden. I did plant a castor bean. I planted the yellow black-eyed Susan vine and the white black-eyed Susan vine and some cardinal climber vines, and that's about all I actually have planted as far as from seed. But I went through my flower seeds when I was taking out the flowers that I had overwintered in the house, and so that was another job deluxe. It seems like I went from one job to the next, and actually that's what we all do probably when you garden, because there seems to never be enough time. You've just got to push and get what you can get done. But I was going to tell you that my husband decided he wanted some radish. He wanted to plant radishes, so that's what this is. And then also there's a few little seeds coming up in here. I think they're petunias and zinnias, but we'll see what they are. I'll probably leave those and plant some more there with them. But I did have some, this one is a Bells of Ireland, and that's what these are that are growing up along this side. So that's great. They came back from last year. I had looked earlier and determined, well, they're not going to come back, but it just took them a little bit longer. So this should pretty much be full later on of the beautiful Bells of Ireland. And this, of course, is a Cosmos, both of these. So we'll have some seed coming up, and hopefully I'll look at all this. This is what I don't miss about our maple tree. And these came from our neighbor's maple tree, but you know, I'm still happy that we have one because it does give us a little bit of shade from theirs, and that one was one already coming up. My little calabachoa, that pink and white that I thought would do so well. It looked so lovely, but now it's gone. I'm pretty sure it's gone. I already trimmed it off, and it doesn't seem like it's coming back to life. Although there is some green there. I may trim it some more and give it another chance, but I don't see it coming out of it, but maybe it will. Never give up. Today is May the 16th, and I had another marathon day in the garden yesterday. Actually, I did do laundry first, and then I had a marathon day in the garden. Didn't get in till dark. So, but I did go ahead and replace some impatiens in several little pots, and I put this red rock all around it, hoping that will deter the snails, or just maybe help it to drain away from its little stem. Just hopefully something will make a difference. And I had told you that each of these 4 pots were losing their little impatiens too, so I did go ahead and redo them too. One thing I found, that some of my pots were not draining well, and that could have been the main problem anyway, but I'm not sure, nor am I sure I fixed the problem to where the little Impatiens can live now, but I certainly hope they will be able to. I know they don't look like much right now, but Impatiens, when they get going, can just billow out and just keep blooming all season and look beautiful. So I'm hoping that is what will happen. And I also went ahead and planted all the little plants that I had purchased or ordered, and finished those up last night right before dark. At some point soon I need to go around and clip off all the old dead or scraggly looking blooms that we've already lost for the season. And I also need to liquid edge some today for sure, because I have grass from the lawn coming into the flowers and I don't want that. I also trimmed off some of the rose, but mostly the honeysuckle, and you can see that I have a little fencing around it. This is just a plastic fencing, but it really does help, because the plants, everything grows toward the sun, so it grows up, but occasionally it gets down over this fence, and if it gets long enough to touch the ground, or if it comes through at the bottom and touches the ground, of course it's going to just put its little root down and go and take over everything and be such a mess. So I do try to keep this inside the fence area. I definitely need to trim back the old dying blooms, but right here, of course, this looks great this morning. So there's still some beauty out here too, but I definitely need to get all the old ready stuff off. And the rains, even though it helped a lot, it also took out a bunch of my peonies a little bit before their time. And I literally could stay out here all day, every day, and never get caught up and just keep working. And normally that's what I do. But I have some particular things I want to get done today. And I'm looking at this little clematis vine, and it's looking a little droopy with all the rains. That's not what should be happening. And one time that happened, and I looked down at the bottom of it, and it was just covered with roly-polies, just like an inch thick, or maybe it's a quarter of an inch thick, but they were so many, so disgusting. But I was able to realize what was happening and save my little vine. And don't let anybody tell you that, well, they're not destructive, they won't hurt a thing, because they definitely will. They will take the stem away from the root right at the bottom, and you'll come out here and it will have no root whatsoever. So I don't particularly care for the roly-polies or the pill bugs. As I looked, I don't see that as a problem right now, so that's good. So hopefully it's just maybe a little cool for it, which is wonderful. Usually it loves the cool, so I'm still not certain about that, but I'm certainly enjoying the cooler weather. Just our little bit of rain has made this limb drop down so far that it's down lower than I would like it to be, and it's probably going to go ahead and break off. So I may trim that off today too. And one of my plans is to trim this tree on the side, because right back here on this side, between this mock orange and this evergreen, I like to be able to walk through here. So I'm going to see if I can't trim some of that off. And although I want this little tree to grow here because the main one has already died out, And this one is looking healthy, but I'm going to trim some of it off too because I don't want it this far out in my path. I noticed that when I walked around it that's just not going to work. So I've got my work cut out for me today. Also wanted to show you some of the things I did yesterday though. And this is a yellow quill mum. I had one here last year and it died because a rodent had got underneath it and uprooted it. So I'm trying again. It was really lovely here. I actually trimmed some off the top and I'm trying to start it in one of my containers also. And that little coneflower that got uprooted by a rodent or I think it was more like either a cat or a raccoon, but it found a new home right here. I think it's going to look good there. I did finally get some of the moss put in some of the pots, and as you can see, a few of them have little seedlings coming up from last year, which is great. And I'm seeing that some of my peonies that hadn't yet bloomed are blooming now. Look at this beautiful, this is the Sarah Bernhardt. Isn't it gorgeous? And I've noticed the bees are totally loving this honeysuckle. And this little rose is blooming now too. This is the Cinco de Mayo rose. And I was just fixing to tell you that this is the area that I worked in the most. And look, it's fallen off of its little, I had this on here with a fishing line string anyway, so I'm going to have to see if I can fix that and set my little angel back in there and set this one back up. And not only is this happening, but yesterday when I fixed it together, there was another one right here on this little hook, and the same thing happened to it as I was carrying it over here. It was not on fishing line, it was had its old, the thing that was on it when I purchased it, and these just give it up before too long. They're the little cheaper containers, but I'm going to have to see if I can fix it and get it over here too. But I did this little pot with the concoleus and some impatiens. I also do have a periwinkle back there in the back. So this gets some sun, but it gets more shade. This is actually the most shaded area I have right now. And this one has the concoleus and impatiens around it also. I think when they grow up it's going to look beautiful. And then I did put a few more things in this little pot so it wouldn't look scraggly. And then right behind me I put this little pot together with I put a coleus in there and some petunias, some rose moss and some purslane moss, and all around the bottom where it has little extra holes to hang out I put the purslane moss. So I don't know how this is going to look. I usually put a little bit more coleus and different things in it, but I'm thinking that this just needs more plants that don't take a lot of moisture too, because it doesn't get a lot. So I'm hoping these little coleus and petunias will do great there, and then where they maybe don't do so great, maybe the purslane moss will. The other little basket that just totally, the whole top of it fell right off. So I'm going to have to see what I can do with that. I may end up putting it in a different pot entirely, but I may be able to find something to fix that with. We'll just have to see how that goes today. I was noticing that this clematis is looking really pretty this morning. And I am so hoping that this little hydrangea will grow and take up a great portion of this area right here. It's new this year. I just would love to get things established so that they just come back and I don't have to, they're not something new that has to be dealt with so intensely. But I'm grateful for the time to get to put new things in the garden too, because all this was new at some point, and I had to take extra care of it and wondered if it would ever make or do anything. And then you see how it's grown and it's looking beautiful. There is a peony here too, but at one point I had a tree peony there that looked just like light pink crepe paper. It was just a beauty, but it didn't live through one of our intense freeze outs during the winter and didn't come back. Actually, it was during the spring after it had already tried to start or had started, and it just didn't make it through that cold. And I put some of that dianthus in this little pot. I was in a big hurry because it was getting dark, and so I don't know if I got this down in its little container well enough. I may have to replace this one at some point. But honestly, it felt good to just finally get these pots filled up or get something in each one and actually get finished with the pots that I had, or the little trays I had of plants that needed to be put somewhere so they could live. I also need to go around and make a list of anything I still need to feel like this pot right here. I don't have anything in it except for this ballerina yarrow, or it may be the pretty bright red yarrow or one of the pastels, but anyway, it's going to be gorgeous. And I want to put a bunch of seed in places too, so I don't necessarily have to put a plant and everything, because I'm going to plant seed, which will be a plant. So I just need to kind of get everything going so that I can get a little bit of a break from having to plant. Look at this beautiful sedum. It filled this pot out so prettily. Look how this is doing. It almost looks like I purchased it new this season instead of that it spent the winter in the house and was looking so scraggly when I brought it out. I planted this. This is called an anchusa, if I'm pronouncing that right. It's a large, tall plant. I'm saying it's probably going to be about 3 foot tall, but it has tiny little blue blooms on it that look like forget-me-not blooms. And I had one here before. It lasted several years and then it went away. And when that happens, I never really know if that was because of a rodent or because the drainage maybe wasn't good enough for it in this area. I'm just not sure. Susie and I found some geraniums that were just the deepest red we had ever seen, and so we both purchased one, and this one actually got put in this little pot right here, which is kind of far back and doesn't get as much attention maybe as it should, but hopefully it will do well here and shine. And then I put just rose moss in these little pots, and of course I already had them in these front pots, so we're getting things filled up. It feels so good to finally get some of that done. And then also this little pot, I just put some of the sedum in it too, this little one right here. I figured my little fern was going by the wayside like it always does for me, but after our rains and cooler weather, it has perked back up and has a chance again. I see a tree growing there too. I'm going to pull that up. I do still have several pots that need something in them, and I may in June, usually we start having some closeout sales, and I may find some really good bargains on some really nice plants. It's happened before, so we will see if that would maybe be the case. And if not, I'll probably just put some seed in these little pots. This one is not going to make it. This was a begonia, but it is gone. Actually, I have ordered another. I ordered my favorite begonia, which is the polymer print. So it may get put in this little pot right here. And my cactus is still doing good, thank the Lord. It doesn't want too much water, and with the rains, that's what happened to my other one, the pretty salmon pink one that I had. But my sister gave me back, I've told you, but she gave me back a little start of it, so I'm gonna hope that it grows for me and does wonderful. And then I'll have two. I tried to start her one from a leaf off of this, but that didn't work, so I'm going to have to wait till it puts up another little stalk. But when it does, she's first in line to get one of these. Let's start off of this one. I put a little bit more of the rose moss in this pot, but I left these that are coming back from seed from last year. I like for it to just come back from seed. That makes me feel great about it. I also put a little bit more in this pot. Let me show you this pretty rose while I'm here too. And then I had the pretty white bacopa here, but I also added a little bright pink vinca with a white eye, and this little bright, beautiful coleus. And I put little starting petunias, nursery petunias, in several of the pots. This one got several of them. And I'm hoping they will do well. This is the little pot I told you that I put some clippings off the top of my yellow quill chrysanthemum, so I'm hoping it will do good. It looked great there. Last year I put a chrysanthemum there. It wasn't the quilled one, but it was just a pretty yellow one, and the yellow and blue just play so pretty off of each other for color. And I'm hoping that it will come back. My other one didn't come back because I didn't put it in until fall. But sometimes if you get them started in the spring, they have enough time to get their roots. Even in pots, they will come back. Not always. So it's always a good idea to have one in the ground, and then you can put your extras in the pots, which they do look great there. And my husband was wanting to see this little cluster when it all bloomed out, but it's not going to happen. Actually, some of them are already finished blooming, and I'll take these off, which I need to do everywhere, but I'm going to do it for this one just so you can see it without the spent ones on there. How pretty. I noticed this little mullein or miniature hollyhock is beginning its bloom, and I love this color. I think it's the only one I have this color. All the rest of them are a bright yellow, which is pretty too. Oh, look, here's some of it. It's the same plant, I believe, but it has more bloom on it. And Sweet William are blooming and looking great. This little two-tone rose is pretty. My little white false indigo baptisia has finished its bloom. I just finished, or just a few minutes ago, finished trimming off all the old dead stuff off my airplane plant. There was nothing green left except this one little sprig, and it is actually one of the baby ones. All the rest of them died too, so this is what I have left. I put some rooting powder on it and put it in there and cleaned it out a little better, and I'm hoping that this will come back to life and be a beauty again. I can hope. And I actually trimmed this down to where the green was, so I'll probably show you that it died later on, but hopefully not. Wouldn't that be great if it just came back out? Stranger things have happened in the garden. And you know, when I brought these out a little over 2 weeks ago, and I had just let them go dormant. I didn't water them or anything, just put them away in what my storage room or junk room is, but they look terrible right now, but I still stand by the belief that these will come back and be a beautiful purple heart. And I just finished trimming this one back. You can see it is going to its pretty purple color, and it just needs a little encouragement, and the rains have encouraged it too. But at the same time, while I was clipping them off, I clipped all this off this one little plant, and it looks better already, but it has a ways to go. But as I clipped those off with the scissors, I realized that because of our recent rains, they are still damp and they're not just coming off. I think they might just rustle off when they're dry. So I'm going to leave those other 2 pots for another day to do, and hopefully they'll come off better. If they don't, I'll just hopefully have a little more time, or at least get some other things done first. And I had these few little ones right here that just the bottom part of them was dead, so I'm going to clip these. I did clip them off, and I'm going to put them in some rooting powder and put them back in this little pot right here. Look at this. Oma gave me a little not bleeding heart, oh my goodness, not a creeping Jenny either, a wandering Jew with some pink in it, and I had determined it had not came back. But look, there it is. It hasn't got its pink yet, but it may soon. And it did come back. So the pieces of the tree that I cut off are in the back of the pickup now. And I showed you that my white false indigo or baptisia had quit blooming, but this yellow, it bloomed a little later and it's still in bloom. It is going away though. It won't be there a whole lot longer. And my Princess Diana clematis is blooming now. Don't think I pointed out that my knockout rose, the red one, is blooming now too, along with the pink that is still there. I couldn't remember if they bloomed at the same time, but I thought they did. So they will bloom at the same time for a little while, but the pink will go ahead and go away, and the red will get fuller most likely. That's what they usually do, and they'll just have the red one there for a little while. Look at this pretty clematis on the bottom of this little stand. Is kind of like a trellis stand, and I have a pot there, of course, and then below it is the clematis with the pretty little blue bells. Forgot that I put another little clematis on here with the Princess Diana, but this dark purple is also blooming today, and I have not done any liquid edging, and actually I'm going to have to take a little bit of a break. But I will try to get back out here a little bit later and get something else done. And before I go in, I wanted to show you that I did get this clipped back, and it does look better. I know it doesn't look so good right now, but it will let a little bit of sunlight through there, and it will also give me a little pathway through there, which is always comes in handy to be able to just walk right through here so that I can be in the back or vice versa. And I wanted to show you, oh, look at it from this side. Looks so much better. You can actually see a little bit of the garden from the back. But I also wanted to show you that even though I have pennies going away everywhere and I need to trim them all back, look at this little one. It decided to be a little bit late and just to shine in the garden when everything else is going away.
Please be sure to like and to subscribe to the channel.